my dear students, welcome back to my channel. So welcome back to day 6 marathon series which we are conducting for your final examination preparation. It's very important that you have to attend all my video series to get the maximum marks in science examination. Before starting the class, most of the students were requesting me to share the link in the group because most of the students are not finding it. Okay, because whenever live is going on, live ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ videos ನಿಮಗೆ direct ಆಗಿ ಸಿಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. Okay, so that is the reason I always tell you that go to my YouTube channel. Whenever live is going on, you can directly join the live. Okay, and you all know the timings of live session. I think the live session will start every day morning at 5:30. Okay, so ನೀವು ಯಾರಾದರೂ previous videos na ನೋಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ you can check my previous videos and how I designed my training for your final examination preparation. All those things you can check it. Okay, so right now I'm sharing the link in my Telegram group because I always tell you whatever the content you need for your final examination preparation, you can join to my Telegram group so that it is easy for you to go through all the concepts and also get prepared for the examination. Okay, so just now I have shared the link in the Telegram group. Students who are in the Telegram group can join by using that link. So in today's class, students, we are starting with the metals and non-metals lesson. So metals and non-metals lesson I have allotted 2 days. So today I will be teaching till the occurrence of metals. In tomorrow's class, I will be teaching the entire occurrence of metals, and that means you will be learning about extraction of metals. And I will be also telling which were the questions which were asked in previous year's examination and what kind of questions you can expect in the examination. My main motto is how many types of questions will be asked when you read one concept. So for that we are mainly focusing. So one concept ಮೇಲೆ ಕೇಳಿರುವಂತ variety of questions and answers ಮಾಡೋದನ್ನ if you learn, definitely science is not at all difficult for you. It's a very easy subject for each and every one. Okay, saying so much without wasting much time, I'm starting today's class. If you're new to my channel, do subscribe the channel and also do share the videos with your friends. Okay, it's important to know that whatever I'm doing for your final examination preparation, every one of the video is giving you more and more information, more and more clarity on every topic. Okay, students, as we are in day 6, okay, let me now, as I told you, I will be discussing the first half part in today's class. Okay, so now let me drop down the textbook part. So because in textbook, whatever is given, if you go through it, definitely you're going to get full marks in science examination. Okay, let me drop down the textbook part now. Okay, so we have metals and non-metals lesson. Okay, you can also note down by using the textbook when I'm explaining what are the concepts that we are going to clear. Okay, so that's very important, you have to do it. So metals and non-metals. When I tell metals and non-metals, name of the lesson itself is telling students. Name ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? ಸೊ ನಾನು ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫೈನಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನೇಷನ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಯು ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ಮೀ. ಓಕೆ, ಥಿಂಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್. It is very easy for you to score good marks. Okay, when we talk about metals and non-metals in this lesson, so students, we are focusing first of all what is meant by metal and what is meant by non-metal. Everyone have an idea, you all have an idea, right? What is metal, what is non-metal, and go to there. See, metal is nothing but, when I tell metal, so they are having some properties. Non-metals, when I say non-metals, are also having some properties. Okay, so in this activity part also, yes, I keep on explaining along with this content only. Okay, so welcome to each and everyone who are present in today's live. So thank you so much for being in live so early in the morning. You guys are very much interested in studies. That shows the interest, that how much importance you give for your examination preparation. Yes, that's good. So metals and non-metals, when I talk about metals and non-metals, very importantly you have to know, children, the physical properties of metals and non-metals you have to know. That is very important. You must know the physical properties of metals and non-metals. Physical properties of metals. Let me list this. Based on this properties only, you will also get give reason questions. Give reason questions in the exam ali keltare. Based on this concept only, they also ask you the give reason questions in the examination. Okay, yes. See, When I talk about the properties of metals, see, metals have so many properties, right? Metals have so many properties. Firstly, see, metals are hard in nature. When I say metals are hard in nature, I used to say most of the metals are hard in nature, not every metal is hard in nature. You have to remember this carefully, correct? Carefully. Most of the metals are hard in nature because there are few metals which are not hard in nature also. So always you should use the word most. Most of the metals are hard in nature. Example kuda. You have to write. See, most of the metals are hard. So most of the metals are what? Most of the metals are hard in nature. The first physical property of the metal is most of the metals are hard in nature. Okay. You have to know physical properties is also very important. And what is their state? They are solid in state, children. So most of the metals are hard in nature. They are solid in nature. Okay. So example, most of the metals, when I say solid, you have to remember at this point, except mercury, because mercury is liquid in state. So that is why I use the word called most. Most of the metals are solid in nature. But when I talk about mercury, mercury is not hard in nature. It is liquid. That is, it is not solid in nature. It is liquid. Okay. Next, what kind of properties metals has? Metals has the property of malleability. Metals has the property of malleability. What is meant by malleability? Malleability andre enu? See, malleability is nothing but the property of metals which can be beaten into thin sheets anta heltivi. The property of metals that can be beaten into thin sheets, we call it as malleability. Those who are feeling screen as blurred, please check your internet connection. At the right hand corner, check your internet connection. Keep your video resolution to high. High resolution you can keep it so that it is very easy for you to clearly see the screen. Okay. So when I talk about malleability, I think you can expect the question based on this. Give reason questions in a kelbahudu. Okay. See, for example, they can ask in the examination, aluminum foils are used, okay, to wrap the food materials. What kind of property it has? The aluminum is being a metal. There we can see that aluminum is seen in the sheet form. Okay, so that property we call it as malleability. What do we call it as? We call it as malleability. Malleability is something metals can be converted into thin sheets. So next we have property called as ductility. What kind of property we have? We have the property called ductility. What is meant by ductile? Ductile andre enu? The metals has the property of converting them into thin wires. Okay, so we say the metals can be drawn into thin wires. So wire ಮಾಡುವಂತ property na we call it as ductility. Example ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. See, guitar is made up of the metal. Guitar strings are made up of metals. Why guitar strings are made up of metals? Because guitar strings are thin wires, and that wire making property we call it as ductility. And the copper is used in the electrical wires. Why? Copper is also having ductile nature and it is also good conductor of electricity. There are two nature at this point of time. Okay, so basically when they ask give reason question exam ali, what you have to do here is you have to think which property is synchronizing there. Yava property ali synchronize aagta ide, which property is synchronizing, you have to know. That is very important. Okay, yes, you have to know about it. Metals are ductile in nature. Next, most of the metals are ductile in nature, and most of the metals are good conductor of heat and electricity. They are the good conductors. Very important, you have to know. Just now I told. So good conductor of heat as well as electricity. Heat and electricity. You can make this point as two different points in the examination. They are good conductors of heat and good conductors of electricity. You can make 2 points. 2 points ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದು exam ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? So it's very important. Every point ಮೇಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, give reason questions ಅನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. I'll tell you what kind of give reasons questions can be asked. Okay, the metals are good conductors of heat and also good conductors of electricity. At this point of time, you have to know that the metals which are good conductors of heat and electricity are silver and copper. Silver and copper are the best conductors of heat. Very good. You have to understand, the silver and copper, they are the best conductor of heat. Silver ಮತ್ತೆ copper ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, best conductor of heat. Exam ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು, copper is used to cook the food ಅಂತ. Why? Because copper is good conductor of heat. Copper is used to it is a good conductor of heat. Why not silver? ಯಾಕೆ silver ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಾರದು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. Okay, why silver is not used? Silver is much expensive compared to copper. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತದಲ್ವಾ? Silver is much expensive compared to copper. That is why copper is used rather than using the silver. But silver and copper both are the good or best conductors of heat. Then which are the poor conductors of heat? The poor conductors of the metals are poor. See, this is the good conductor of heat. When I talk about a poor conductor of heat, we have lead and mercury. Lead, Lead, lead and mercury. Lead and mercury. Hg stands for mercury. I'm writing the symbol of mercury. Okay. Lead and mercury are the poor conductors of heat. You must know this, children. Okay. So we are done with the metals are good conductors of heat as well as electricity. So what is the next, the point you can write? You can write metals. Most of the metals are sonorous in nature. Most of the metals are sonorous in nature. What is meant by sonorous? Sound producing property. Sonorous is nothing but sound producing property. You have to know about it. See, bells in the temples are made up of metals and the keltar. Why bells in the bells in the temples are made up of metals? Because those bells produce the sound. Those bells, what happened? They produce the sound. And bells in the schools are made up of metals. Why? Your school bell is also made up of metal. Okay, it is producing sound. So that property we will call it as sonorosity. What do we call it as? We will call it as sonorosity. Okay, and at this point of time, you also have to know that metal oxides are basic in nature. Metal oxides ಏನಾಗಿದೆ? Metal oxides are basic in nature ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. Metal oxides are basic in nature. So these are the important points that you have to learn with respect to examination point of view. When I talk about the properties of metals, all these points are very, very important. I would like to add one more point, that is metals are lustrous. This point is also very important. Most of the metals are lustrous in nature. Most of the metals are what? They are lustrous in nature. What is meant by lustrous? Lustrous is nothing but shining property. Metals have shining property. Say for example, that is why we are using the gold as ornament. That is why we are using silver as an ornament. We don't use iron as an ornament. Okay. Most of the metals are lustrous in nature. As they have lustrous nature, we are using the metals for making the ornaments. If you like this video, don't forget to like this video at the end of the video, children. So whatever the content I'm explaining, if you're feeling that really it is helpful, don't forget to like this video at least at the end of the session. Okay. Yes, sir. So we are done with now these many points. I think you have completed. I would like to request all the students only to focus on what I'm teaching rather than other concepts right now. Okay. So I would like to quickly recall this, children. See, most of the metals are hard in nature. Remember, most of the metals are hard in nature. So except sodium, lithium and potassium, I can say. Okay. Because except sodium, lithium and potassium, lithium and potassium, this is exception for this. These are not hard in nature. Okay. Because they are soft and they can be easily cut with the help of knife. Most of the metals are hard in nature. That you have to know. Most of the metals are what? They are hard in nature. Next, most of the metals are solid. What? Most of the metals are solid except mercury. Most of the metals are solid. Exception is in the case of mercury. Hg. Hg is nothing but mercury. Mercury is liquid at room temperature, children. You have to know about this. Mercury is name the metal which is liquid at room temperature anta keltare exam alli. Which metal is liquid at room temperature? Mercury is liquid at room temperature. Clear? And most of the metals are malleable in nature. Most of the metals are malleable in nature. Malleable is nothing but they can be converted into thin sheets. Okay. Really highly malleable metals are gold and silver. So gold and silver are highly malleable metals. Au and Ag andre gold and silver anta artha. Gold and silver are highly malleable metal. ನೋಡಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿರೋದು ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. You guys will ignore exceptions irutte, you guys will ignore, so do not ignore that. Okay, so every exceptional case may be a question for you in your examination. You have to know about this, children. Okay, yes, I think you're clear with this. So next you can observe here, metals are ductile in nature. I told you most of the metals are ductile in nature. Ductile is nothing but what? They can be converted or drawn into thin wires. Okay, so you can get some give reason question at this area. ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಗಿಟಾರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾರೆ, they use the metals. make the guitar strings. Okay, so violin ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಡ್ರಾನ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಥಿನ್ ವೈರ್. ದಿ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿನ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ನೀವಲ್ಲಿ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಗಿವ್ ಯು ಮೋರ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ನಾನು ಕೂಡ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ನಾನು. ಕೀವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಡಕ್ಟೈಲ್ ಅಂತ ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಫುಲ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಇಟ್. Next, most of the metals are good conductors of heat as well as electricity. So the best conductors of heat anta nododadre silver and copper are the best conductors of heat. Poor conductors of heat are lead and mercury. Lead and mercury are the poor conductors of heat. You have to know about this. Clear? Okay. Next illi nimge clear aaytu ankotini. Next we have the next point, that is metals are sonorous in nature. That means it produces the sound when it strike on hard surface. When metals strike on hard surface, what happens? It will produce the sound. Now, metallic oxides are basic in nature. That is another point. And metals are lustrous in nature. That is nothing but it has the shining property. All these are the properties of the metals, children. Okay. So now that you clearly understood about the properties of metals, that is physical properties. So we have physical properties. Can you see here? Physical properties of metals. They have given activity 3.1 here. Activity 3.1 alli avaru ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ? Quickly let me summarize, because this is all based on the properties of metal only. Activity 3.1 alli they are telling that take samples of iron, copper, aluminum and magnesium. Note the appearance of each anta ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. See, if you observe all these metals, what happen? Appearance, they are all shiny. So you can write lustrous. They are lustrous in nature anta baribodu quick agi. You can write they are lustrous in nature for this activity. Next, activity 3.2 nalli ಏನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ? See, you can observe activity 3.2 nalli take small pieces of iron, aluminum, copper, magnesium. Try to cut these metals with a sharp knife and note your observations anta kelidare. See, is it possible to cut these metals? It is not possible because they are hard. So what is the conclusion you get here in this activity? You get that metals are hard in nature. Most of the metals are hard in nature. That you have to know. And they also have given here, hold a piece of sodium metal with a pair of tongs. Okay. You always have to take care about this because sodium is very highly reactive metal. Okay, so when we use this metal, what happens? Sodium in a glass, watch glass, we can easily cut the sodium with the help of knife because it is soft metal. Sodium is the soft metal. It can be easily cut with the help of knife. As you all have asked me to explain the activity, I'm just focusing on it. Ive kelidira activities na complete ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ma'am anta ee lesson alli. That is why I'm just going through the activities also. Okay, yes sir. So now I will ask the questions. Yes, you have to wait for it. Activity 3.3 says that take pieces of iron and zinc and what else they have given? Take the, just a minute, okay. So take the pieces of iron and zinc, lead and copper and strike it for the 5 times for any hard substance or strike it with the hammer anta kelta idare. Okay. So when you take the metals like iron, zinc, lead and copper and strike 4 or 5 times by using a hammer, what it will happen? When you strike it, do you know which property is applying here? Do you know which property has been applied here, children? Yes, I think most of you are answering. Very good. So here, what happened when we strike these metals? What happened? So these metals, when you hammer, okay, it will become into flat surface. So the property here we are applying here is malleability. We are applying the property of malleability because metals can be beaten into thin sheet. Okay. Next, in the activity 3.4, they are asking, list the metals whose wires have seen in the daily life. They are asking. Okay. See, you might have seen, wires. In many cases, you have seen wires. So they told, take some, list the metals whose wires have been seen in the daily life. See, you can see copper wires. Most of the time, you can see copper wires in the electrical wires, and you can also see iron wires, but it is not used in the case of electricity. You can also see aluminum. Okay. So iron, copper, aluminum are the metals which are, are drawn into thin wires. So very important, you have to know iron, copper and aluminum. These can be drawn into thin wires. Which property we are applying here? We are applying the property of ductility. That means I told metals are ductile na. So that property we are applying here. Okay. This is all about activity 3.4. In activity 3.5, they're asking take an aluminum or copper wire, clamp this wire on the stand. Okay, and fix a pin to the free end of the wire using the wax. See, you can observe here, there is a wax here and there is a pin here. Okay, so now what do you observe sometime after, providing the heat? You know that You're taking an aluminum or copper wire, clamping it in a stand, and what are you doing? You're fixing a pin at the free end, and also you're fixing the pin by using the wax. That is important, and you're providing the heat. So what happened when you provide the heat? Metal wire does not melt. Metal wire does not melt. Okay. So what can you conclude by this? This end, there is a metal wire right now. So I can also see that. See, there is a metal wire. So this metal wire does not melt. So when it does not melt, what can you say? They have high melting point and high boiling point. This point I forgot to include, I think. High melting point and high boiling point. Most of the metals have high melting point and high boiling point. That is what you understand. And also they are good conductors of heat. They are the good conductors of heat. They are the good conductors of heat. So these things you learn by the activity 3.5. They are the good conductors of heat. That is what you understand in activity 3.5. Clear? Okay. So let me now go for next. Let me go for next now. Okay. See, I told you in the above activity, the metals are good conductors of heat, children, and they have high melting point. The best conductor of heat, already I told you at the beginning of this video, silver and copper are the best conductor of heat. But why are we not using silver in our day-to-day life? Because it is much expensive. Tumba expensive agide. That is why we are not using the silver for cooking purposes and all. Next, lead and mercury are comparatively poor conductors of heat. I told you this also. Which are the poor conductors of heat in examination? They may ask. Lead and mercury are the poor conductors of heat. You have to know about it. Okay, that's very important. Clear? Okay. So next we have to focus on, do metals also conduct electricity? For that there is an activity 3.6. So what are you doing here? You are setting up an electric circuit here. Okay, you are setting up an electric circuit here, and you place the metal to be tested in the circuit between the terminal A and terminal B. So you are testing this. Okay, so after, when you connect this, you will check whether the bulb glows or not. That is what you are going to check here. So in metal 3.6, in the activity 3.6, what are you observing here? You are observing here, when you connect the terminals, when I connect the terminals of metal, what happens? The bulb automatically glows. The bulb automatically glows. Why the bulb glows? These metal wires are carrying the electricity. They are carrying the electricity. Okay. So by knowing this, we can conclude that they are the good conductors of electricity. Most of the metals are what? They are the good conductors of electricity. That you will come to know. Good conductors of electricity. Okay. Most of the metals I am using, not all the metals. Most of the metals. Clear, right? So you must have seen that wires that carry the current at your homes have a coating of polyvinyl chloride. Nodi, idana give reason na kelbodu. See, the wires that carry the current in your homes are made up of PVC or the rubber-like material. Give reason anta keltare. What do you give reason, children? For this, what do you give reason? What is your reason? Tell me. What will be your reason for this question? Ee riti question kelidre exam alli. What do you give the answer? What is my question? See, if you know, at your homes, the wires are coated by PVC or rubber-like material. So what is the reason for it? I think you are trying to answer, I feel. So to avoid a short circuit, one of you had given answer. So they are the bad conductor of electricity. Absolutely, that is the one thing. The rubber and the polyvinyl chloride, they are called as insulators, children. They are called as insulators. That means they do not conduct electricity. See, there are wires in your electrical wire. On top of it, we coat with the PVC, polyvinyl chloride, or we coat with the rubber. Why? Because when we touch, we should not get shocked. When we touch, we should not get shocked. That is why we are using these materials. And these are the insulators. What are they called as? They are called as insulators. Idu ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು ನಿಮಗೆ. Clear ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ? Next ನೋಡಿ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ. What happens when metals strike to a hard substance? Do they produce sound? So already I told you, yes. When the metals, strike to the hard surface, what happens? They produce sound. Hence we call them as sonorous. Metals are sonorous. I have completed all these things. Moving to next, we have some of the physical properties of non-metals. Till now we have understood the physical properties of metals. We are going to focus now physical properties of non-metals. Physical properties of non-metals it is just the opposite of the metals. Just the opposite of metals. Okay. So what are the physical properties of non-metals? When we talk about the physical properties of non-metals, you have to know the children. See, non-metals are generally soft in nature. You have to know non-metals are generally soft in nature. Let me first quickly summarize. Non-metals are soft in nature, okay? And when I talk about the state, they exist either solid or the gaseous. They either exist in the solid state or in the gaseous state. They either exist in the solid state or in the gaseous state. Okay, when I talk about their lustrosity, okay, so most of the non-metals are non-lustrous. They are non-lustrous. That means they don't have the shining property. But there is an exception, children. The only non-metal which is going to luster, that means which has the shining property, is iodine. Iodine will show the lustrous property. Exception, okay? You should know about it. All the non-metals are non-lustrous in nature except the iodine. Iodine shows the lustrous nature. Okay. Next, when I talk about malleability, non-metals are non-malleable in nature. That means they cannot be drawn into thin, sheets. They are non-malleable in nature, and they are also non-ductile in nature. Non-malleable and also non-ductile in nature. Very important, you have to know. And then they are non-sonorous. They are non-sonorous. That means they do not produce the sound. They are non-sonorous in nature, and they are the poor conductors of heat and electricity. I will tell you why. Yake anta heltini. They are the poor conductors. Okay. Non-metals are the poor conductors of heat and also poor conductors of electricity. Poor conductors of heat and electricity. You must know about this, children. Okay. So when I talk about poor conductors of heat and electricity, why I'm telling poor? Because there is exception for the case of graphite. Graphite ke exception is. Graphite is one of the allotrope of carbon, which is a good conductor of electricity. Okay. So there is exception for the case of graphite. They are the good conductor of electricity. Apart from graphite, most of the non-metals are poor conductors of heat as well as electricity. Clear? And next, finally, I would like to tell you, non-metals are acidic in nature. Non-metals are acidic in nature. That is very important. You have to know. Non-metals are acidic in nature. These many points you have to know. Okay, now see, most of the non-metals are non-lustrous, exception for the case of iodine and exception for the case of graphite, because graphite is a good conductor of heat as well as electricity, but most of the non-metals are poor conductors of heat as well as electricity. Clear, Aitala? So this is overview of the physical properties of non-metals. Okay. So now let us look into the activity 3.7. What they have given in activity 3.7. In activity 3.7, they have given collect the samples of carbon, maybe the coal or the graphite. Okay. And also along with that sulfur and iodine. See, collect the samples of coal, sulfur and iodine. So collect it. So let me write now that. So I have let me now write first element is the coal, or you can write carbon. Both are same because coal contain maximum amount of carbon. Coal ali complete agi carbon ide. Clear agtidalla? Next we have sulfur. Let me take sulfur. And also let me take now iodine. Okay. So these many things I have taken. I have taken coal, sulfur and also the iodine I have taken. Okay. So now what is the symbol of the carbon? You should know what is the symbol of carbon first of all. Symbol of carbon is C. Symbol of sulfur is S. Symbol of iodine is I. Okay. What type of surface they have? You have to write it. Okay. What type of surface a carbon or a coal has? What type of surface a coal has? A coal has the hard surface. It has the hard surface. What about the surface of sulfur? Okay, you should know. This is also having that. This is not much, hard. We say rough. We can say instead of writing hard, we can use rough. I think so. Carbon has rough surface. Sulfur also has the rough surface. Sulfur also has a rough surface. But iodine has the, you must know, iodine has the shiny surface. Iodine has the shiny surface. When I talk about hardness, whether the carbon is hard in nature, coal is hard? No, it is not hard in nature. It is moderately hard. That means we can easily break the coal. What about sulfur? Sulfur is not hard, and iodine is also not hard. Okay? I think if you have not written, you have to write this in examination. Idina nimge keduvanta chances irutte. Okay, they're not hard. When I talk about malleability, carbon, sulfur, iodine, they do not show malleability. When I talk about ductility, you cannot draw the carbon into wire, coal into wire, sulfur into wire, iodine also into wire. When I talk about the conductivity, do they conduct electricity or not? No, it do not conduct the electricity. Coal do not conduct electricity. Iodine and sulfur also do not conduct electricity. And when I talk about sonoricity also, no, they do not have shining nature. They do not have shining I'm sorry, sound producing nature. Sonoricity is nothing but sound producing nature. They do not have sound producing nature. Carbon, sulfur and iodine, they do not have the sound producing nature. So you have to know about this. Clear, right? Okay. Fine. Let's go for next, children. See, there is some exception case you have to know. All the metals except mercury exist as solid in state. All the metals except mercury, they exist in the solid state. Okay, at room temperature, you have to know. And see, you also have to observe about these important things. See, metals have high melting and also high boiling point. Here you have to focus on this very important thing. Metals have high melting point, but here the gallium and cesium are having the low melting point. So what can they ask in the examination? Name the metals which have the low melting point. Gallium and cesium have low melting point. Gallium and cesium have low melting point, that you have to know. Next, you have to know about, see, these two metals, when you keep it in the palm, they easily evaporate. They easily evaporate. That is why they have low melting point. So then iodine is a non-metal, but it is lustrous in nature. Next, we have carbon, which is a non-metal. This carbon, they exist in different forms, children. So as it is existing in different form, we call this as allotrope. What do we call this as? We call this as allotrope of carbon. And why I am reading this? Because any concept they can ask in the examination. At any time, you should know, you should be ready to answer all the concepts which I am going to focus for your examination point of view. Okay. Here you must know, carbon is a non-metal, but it is existing in different forms. So we will call that as allotrope. Allotrope anta heltivi. So diamond, being one of the allotrope of carbon, is the hardest natural substance in the world. You have to know that. Name the non-metal which is hardest in nature. Hardest in nature. Hardest non-metal is the diamond. Hardest non-metal is the diamond, because diamond is one of the allotrope of carbon. You should know about it. Next, you should know that diamond is an allotrope of carbon and it is the hardest substance ever known. And it has high melting point and also high boiling point. You cannot melt it very easily. And graphite is another allotrope of carbon. Graphite is another allotrope of carbon. It is a good conductor of electricity. You know that non-metals do not conduct electricity. Non-metals electricity conduct madudilla anta niಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. But ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಯಾವ non-metal electricity ನ conduct ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, you should know that the carbon is graphite is an allotrope of carbon which conducts the electricity. Allotrope ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ನೋಡಿ. What is meant by allotrope? See, allotrope is nothing but they are the different forms of carbon, I can say. Simple. Different forms of carbon, we call it as allotropes. Different forms of carbon. Different forms of carbon, we call it as allotrope. What do we call it as? We will call it as allotrope. So, ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ different forms of carbon ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಈಗ ಡೈಮಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಅರೇಂಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬೇರೆ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. And when we look into the graphite ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅರೇಂಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬೇರೆ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. Coal ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಅರೇಂಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನರ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕೋಲ್ arrangement of carbon is different. Arrangement of carbon is different. So carbon different ಆಗಿ ಅರೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? So coal we can easily break. Graphite is a good conductor of electricity. Diamond is the hardest substance ever known. Clear, right? Okay. So next you have to know alkali metals such as sodium, lithium and potassium. They are so soft that they can be easily cut with the help of knife. These can be easily cut with the help of knife because they have low densities and also low melting point. You must know this, children. Name the soft metals. Name the metals which can be cut with the help of knife. Easily cut with the help of knife. They can ask this kind of questions. Okay. Next one, the activity 3.8 is activity 3.8. What are they talking here is activity 3.8. They're asking you to take a magnesium ribbon and also some sulfur powder. So, and they're asking you to burn these two things in the presence of what? In the presence of air. Okay. And then what you have to do? You have to collect the ashes and dissolve it in water and find out the nature of it. So let me take magnesium. See, let me take magnesium. I think nivelleru nodidira ankotini. Magnesium burn ಆದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? White dazzling light ಬರುತ್ತೆ. When you burn magnesium, what happened? It releases the white dazzling light. So when magnesium burn with the oxygen, what happened? It releases the ash substance which is called as magnesium oxide. Let me now take this magnesium oxide in a small watch glass and add water to this. Let me add water to this. When I add water to magnesium oxide, I get magnesium hydroxide, children. I will get magnesium hydroxide. When you guys add magnesium, water to magnesium oxide, you get magnesium hydroxide. This is a case one. This is a case one. Okay. So now what happened? Let me take the sulfur. Let me take sulfur. Sulfur, when you burn in the presence of oxygen, you get sulfur dioxide. You get sulfur dioxide. So sulfur dioxide ಏನ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? Take sulfur in a spatula. Take sulfur in a spatula. You burn it. When you burn it, what happened? It releases the sulfur dioxide. Collect it in a test tube. Collect it in a test tube. When you collect this test tube in a test tube, what happened? You have collected sulfur dioxide. What you have collected right now in the test tube? In the test tube, you have collected the sulfur dioxide. Correct, alva? So, ಈ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿರುವಂತ ಈ sulfur dioxide ಏನಿದೆ, you have sulfur dioxide. You add water to this. You add water to sulfur dioxide. So, what do you get? You get sulfurous acid. H2SO4 you get. Sulfurous acid you get. Here, right? So, now what you have to do here is, you want to take the blue and also red litmus paper and test these two things. Test these two things. Okay. See, in the case of magnesium hydroxide, when you dip the red litmus paper, for magnesium hydroxide, red litmus paper change its color to blue. Red litmus paper change its color to blue. So what are you learning here? ಏನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ? Magnesium hydroxide is changing its color to blue ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, this magnesium is a metal first of all. So when you burn metal, you got metal oxide. For metal oxide, when you add water, you got metal hydroxide. So these metal hydroxides are basic in nature. So metal oxides are what? Basically, they are basic in nature. Similarly, case 2 nalli tagondaga, you have collected sulfur dioxide when you burn sulfur. Correct? When you add water to it, you get sulfuric acid. Still ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, when you dip the red litmus paper, name itself is acid, right? So red litmus paper does not show any change in the color. But when you dip the blue litmus paper, what happens? It will change its color to red. It will change its color to red. So that means this says that this is a acid. But in first case, what happened? When you dip the base, that is blue litmus paper, it does not show any change in the color. It does not show any change in the color. But red litmus paper showed the change in the color. It showed the change in the color. Clear, right? Okay. So now, children, I think you are clearly understood. Do you have any doubt in this, children? Students, you have any doubt in this? You have any doubt in this? I think you have clearly understood. So please concentrate on the things which I am teaching rather than just having a casual chat in your chat section, because you are left with only few days for your examination and you guys are dedicating your time every day early in the morning for my videos to learn something. Okay, to prepare for your science examination, not to just have a common chat in the comment section. I request all the students to kindly focus on what I am teaching and do learn about it. Okay? Yes. I repeat once again, see, it's very important. Magnesium, when burned in the presence of oxygen, we get magnesium oxide, children. This is ash. So to this ash, I am adding water. I got magnesium hydroxide. So when I test this with the red and blue litmus paper, red litmus paper change it to blue. This indicates magnesium oxide. That means metal oxides or metal hydroxides are basic in nature. When I burn sulfur, I got sulfur dioxide. When I add water to sulfur dioxide, what happens? Sulfur dioxide ge water na add ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ sulfuric acid ಬಂತು H2SO4. Test with red litmus paper and blue litmus paper. Tell me what happened in this case. So does the blue litmus paper change its color? Does the blue litmus paper change its color in this case, children? In the case of sulfur dioxide, does the blue litmus paper change its color? Or does it remain same? You have to notice that. Yes? Okay, it has changed its color to red because sulfuric acid is acidic in nature. That you have to know clearly. Okay? Yes. So now let me go for next question. The exam alli innenu important ah keltare non-metals alli. The non-metals, just now we understood non-metals are acidic in nature. This experiments prove. Okay, ee experiment ಏನು prove ಮಾಡ್ತು ಈಗ? Non-metals are acidic in nature ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತು. Clear, right? So on the other hand, most of the metals give rise to basic oxide. In this activity, you have understood that metallic oxides are basic in nature, non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature. You have understood this, right? So let us now quickly answer. Let me see who will answer for these questions now, right? Okay. So now tell me, give the example for the metal which is liquid at room temperature. Name the metal which is liquid at room temperature. I have covered all this concept till now. Tell me, name the metal which is liquid at room temperature. Okay. Okay. So So Anu has given the first answer, followed by Raghupati, Manjunath, Rocky, Nazim. Okay, some are telling bromine also. That is a non-metal. I am asking name the metal. Name the metal. We are talking about metal which is liquid at room temperature. It is mercury. Mercury is liquid at room temperature. Okay, next answer. So name the metal which can be cut easily with the help of knife. So first answer is again given by Aruna now. So Aruna has given the first answer for this question. It is sodium. Let me write sodium. You can write potassium. Potassium also you can write. Okay, now tell me, name the metal which is the best conductor of heat. Name the metal which is best conductor of heat. Which is the metal which is best conductor of heat? Tell me. I discussed about it, right? So Mithil Hiremat has given the first right answer. So followed by next SMID has given the right answer. Okay, fine, very good. The answer is correct, children. So best conductor of heat is silver and copper. Silver and copper both are best conductor of heat. Now tell me, name the metal which is poor conductor of heat. Name the metal which is poor conductor of heat. Which is poor conductor of heat? Poor conductor of heat also I have taught you. Lead and mercury. Very good. Correct answer. Lead and mercury is the poor conductor of heat. Lead and mercury. These metals are the poor conductors of heat. So next they have given, explain the meaning of malleable and ductile. So malleable is nothing but simply we say the conversion of metal into its thinnest sheet form. Okay, metals can be converted into thin sheet form is called malleable. Metals can be converted into thin wire form and we call it as ductile. So till now we have understood the properties of physical properties of metals as well as non-metals. So now I am getting into the chemical properties of metals. Let us now understand the chemical properties of metals. So chemical property na check madake we are taking some metals as a samples. So now that we have taken aluminium, copper, iron, lead, magnesium, zinc and sodium, we have collected these many metals. So first, what activity we are doing, what actually we are doing in the first set. See, now at least listen, you all have to carefully listen the chemical properties of metal. It's very important to know the chemical properties. Okay, so when I talk about the chemical properties, I simplify this whole concept and then I'll teach you. Okay, when I talk about the chemical properties of metal, firstly we are talking what happens when metals are burnt in air. What happens when metals are burnt in air? You should know. Burnt in air and reno, there will be presence of oxygen. That is important. You have to know. See, whenever we burn metal in the oxygen, children, we get metal oxide. Whenever we burn metal in the presence of oxygen, we get metal oxide. Say for example, just now, even on burn marde, magnesium burn marde in the presence of oxygen, what did I get? I got magnesium oxide, which is a metal oxide. If you burn copper in the presence of oxygen, you get copper oxide. You get copper oxide. Understand? Similarly, when you burn aluminium in the presence of oxygen, you get aluminium oxide Al2O3. So formula tilkoli, it's very important. Formula tilkondre, it's easy for you. Okay, you must know about it. What happens when these things burn in the presence of oxygen? You have to know about it. So all these are the examples. So now when I take gold or silver, okay, and burn in the presence of oxygen, will it burn, children? Will it burn easily? No, right? They don't burn. They don't burn easily. So in this activity, what are we learning here is in activity 3.9. Activity 3.9, we are trying to burn some metals, students. We are trying to burn some metals. Okay, so when I try to burn these metals, not all the metals. Say for example, when I take sodium, let me now take sodium. Okay, let me now take sodium and also let me take magnesium, aluminium, zinc. Okay, sodium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, lead and copper. Okay, these metals I have taken. These metals only they have given here. See, whatever the metals they have given here in this case, that metals only I am taking. When you try burning these, metals, not all the metals burn in the same, rate. They do not burn in the same rate. So, in the case of sodium, what happens? Sodium, when you just expose it to the atmosphere, it easily catches the fire. Sodium enagate, just open ಮಾಡಿಟ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು air ಅಲ್ಲಿ, it catches the fire easily. But in case of magnesium, so we are not burning this. We are not burning this, okay? But when in the case of magnesium, what happened? Magnesium burned to form magnesium oxide. Aluminium also burned to form aluminium oxide. Next, zinc. When I talk about zinc, zinc does not burn very easily. Okay. So next, when I talk about iron, iron also does not burn very easily. Lead and copper also does not burn very easily. Okay. So based on that, what are we doing here is, we are arranging the metals. We are arranging the metals based on the reaction that these metals has shown with the oxygen. These metals has shown reaction with the oxygen in different rate shifts. That is one important thing you have to know. See, you have to, what they are telling in this activity here is, following the activity needs the teacher's assistance. It would be better if students wear eye protection, hold the samples taken above with a pair of tongs and try burning over a flame. Repeat with the other metal samples and collect the product it formed at the tail. Let the product of the metal surfaces cool down. Which metals burn very easily, they're asking. When I talk about this, what happens? Sodium, when you just keep it in the air, what happens? It can easily catch the fire. Next, when I talk about magnesium, magnesium shows more or fast, burning reaction compared to aluminum. So how can we arrange here now? Sodium is more reactive compared to magnesium. Magnesium is more reactive compared to aluminum. Aluminum is more reactive compared to zinc. Zinc is more reactive than iron. Iron is more reactive than lead. Lead is more reactive than copper. This is how we arrange the metals. This is how you want to arrange the metals. You should know this, children. Okay. So now what are we learning here? See, what flame color did you observe when you burn the metal? So in case of magnesium, what happened? We have observed the white color dazzling light. Correct now. So different metals produces the different flame, but flame is not the question here. Flame question alla illi. Question ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವ್ದು ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಯಾವ್ದು ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. So next question ಏನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, are the products soluble in water? Now we have burned these metals, right? Whether these products whether all these can be whether for all these metals it is easy for soluble anta kelta ide. Easy for soluble. Let us take for example, when I burn sodium, I got sodium oxide. So when I burn sodium, that means when I keep it open, what happened? It forms sodium oxide, Na2O it forms. What is it form? It forms Na2O. Okay, so this Na2O, that means the sodium oxide, when I add to water, ಯಾವಾಗ ನೀವು ವಾಟರ್ ಗೆ ಹಾಕ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಸೋಡಿಯಂ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ನ ವಾಟರ್ ಗೆ ಹಾಕ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? You get sodium hydroxide. What do you get? You get sodium hydroxide. Similarly, when you burn potassium, potassium also you can include here, children. Potassium is more reactive compared to sodium. Okay, so potassium also, when you burn in the presence of oxygen, you get potassium hydroxide, K2O. So when this potassium oxide, when you add it into water, you get potassium hydroxide. You get potassium hydroxide, KOH ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ನಿಮಗೆ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? See, when copper is heated in the air, it combines with oxygen to form copper oxide. But copper oxide is black in nature. First lesson alle idನ್ನ ನೀವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. In first lesson you have understood what happened when we burn copper. When you burn copper, you get copper oxide. But copper oxide is what? It is just black color in nature. Copper oxide is black in nature. Okay, fine. So next you have you have next some other metals. Say for example, you have copper. Copper, already I told you, copper burned in the oxygen to form what? Copper oxide, which is the brown color copper will change its color to black color. Brown color copper will change its color to black color. That is importantly you have to know. Clear ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ? So ನೋಡಿ, ಈ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಏನು ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಳ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವ್ಯೂಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್ ವೆನ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ ಬರ್ನ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪ್ರೆಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು. See, whenever metal burn in the presence of oxygen, it gives metal oxide. Okay, say for example, copper burn in the oxygen to form copper oxide, aluminum burn in the oxygen to form aluminum oxide. Okay, so one important concept ಇದೆ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು, 1000 ಅಲ್ಲ 1001% important. ಎವ್ರಿ ಇಯರ್ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿದೀವಿ 99% ಆಫ್ ದ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಪೇಪರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್? ದಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಂಫೋಟರಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್. ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. What are amphoteric oxides? Give examples for amphoteric oxides. Give examples for amphoteric oxide by writing the chemical equation anta kelta. Important to know this, children. Amphoteric oxide. What is meant by amphoteric oxide? Is some of the metal oxides, they react with both acids as well as bases. What do you write in the examination? Metal oxides which react with both acids as well as bases. Metal oxides which react with both acids as well as bases. Okay, to form salt and water. Metal oxides which react with acids and bases to form salt and water. We call it as amphoteric oxide. What do we call it as? We call it as amphoteric oxide. Example for amphoteric oxides are, children, aluminum oxide and zinc oxide. Nenpitkolli, aluminum oxide and zinc oxide. Al2O3 aluminum oxide and zinc oxide ZnO. What are these? Enidu? Aluminum oxide Al2O3. Okay, aluminum oxide is a metal oxide. Zinc oxide, a metal oxide. So these are the two metal oxides. They react with both acids and they react with both bases. They react with acids as well as bases. Example, this question is it's very important. What are amphoteric oxides anta keltare? Artha agtidya? So ma'am, I have a dream to understand and study all the concepts, but if I do that time, it will end anta keltare. Yes, time consumption agate. Time consumption agodrinda you can have a clarity on the concept. Clarity irutte concept mele niಮಗೆ time consume ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, then you have to study. ಇಲ್ಲಿ what are amphoteric oxides ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, give examples for amphoteric oxides ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, and express by using the chemical reaction ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Very important, children, very important. Okay, so you must know that, see what happened when aluminum oxide react with acid, aluminum oxide react with base. ನೆನಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, exam ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಿಬೇಕು ನೀವು ಇದನ್ನ. So they may ask about to write aluminum oxide or zinc oxide. For both you must be ready. But for both you must be ready. See now what happened? Aluminum oxide, when it react with acid, what happened? Aluminum will combine with chlorine to form aluminum chloride. What is this aluminum chloride? It is a salt. So basic equation ಏನು? ಒಂದು metal oxide acid ಜೊತೆ react ಆದರೆ salt and water form ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. You want to find out the salt. The salt which we have got here is aluminum chloride. Similarly, when a metal oxide react with the base, aluminum react with the base to form sodium aluminate, that is NaAlO2. NaAlO2, that is what? It is the salt. What is this? It is a salt. Important. Adhe riti, when we take zinc oxide and react with the hydrochloric acid, zinc react with the chlorine to form what? It forms zinc chloride salt and it releases, that means it forms the water. Similarly, when I take zinc oxide and react with the base NaOH, so when I take zinc oxide and react with this, I get Na2ZnO2. I get Na2ZnO2. Okay. So this is very important. You have to know this is sodium zincate. Okay. You must know this, children. It's very important to know about this concept. Okay. What happens, when zinc oxide is reacting with the base also you have to know. I'm just giving you a 1 minute break, children. I'll come back in a short period of time. I'll just have a glass of water and please stay back. So sorry for interrupting in between the class. I was completely feeling the thirsty because as we're talking continuously, it's needed, right? So sorry for interruption in between the class, children. So I was telling you that about amphoteric oxide. We were talking about what? We were talking about the amphoteric oxide. The example for amphoteric oxides are aluminum oxide and also the zinc oxide. You must know about this, children. It's very important to know. Both reactions are very important. With respect to aluminum oxide and also with respect to zinc oxide, it is very important to know. Okay. So I think you have understood the difference between that is zinc oxide reacting with the sodium hydroxide and also zinc oxide, aluminum oxide reacting with the sodium hydroxide. ಎರಡು ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. With respect to examination point of view, both are very very important. ಎರಡು ಕೂಡ ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯು ಡೋಂಟ್ ಥಿಂಕ್ ದಟ್ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಅಂತ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಏನಿದೆ Na2ZnO2 ಅಂತ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ, Na2ZnO2 ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಬೇಸಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. Na2ZnO2 ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಬೇಸಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ರೀಸನ್ I am just explaining this concept also. It's very important to know this, children. What happens when aluminum oxide reacts with acid as well as base, and what happens when zinc oxide reacts with acid and base? Both you have to know. Na2ZnO2 is sodium zincate. What is the name of this? This is sodium zincate. Sodium zincate it is. Okay. And this is sodium aluminate. ಎರಡು ಕೂಡ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು. With respect to examination point of view, both are really very important. Okay. Yes. ಮ್ಯಾಮ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡೋದು ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ನಾನ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇಕ್ವೇಷನ್ ಲೆಸನ್. ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ನಾನ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಅಹೆಡ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇಕ್ವೇಷನ್. ದಟ್ ಲೆಸನ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಟೀಚ್ ಯು. ಓಕೆ ಫೈನ್. ಸೊ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ವಿತ್ ದಿಸ್. ನೋಡಿ, ಇದು ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್, 100% ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಇದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆಂಫೋಟರಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಇಯರ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಪೇಪರ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅನ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ. ವಾಟರ್ ಆಂಫೋಟರಿಕ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ರೈಟ್ ಬೈ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನಿಂಗ್ ದ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಇಕ್ವೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಯು ಮಸ್ಟ್ ನಾಟ್ ಲೂಸ್ ದ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಅಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಅಟ್ ಎನಿ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ? ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗ ರೀಸೆಂಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ಅ ಮೆಟಲ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ವಾಟರ್, so an alkali is formed. Whether the alkali is acidic in nature or basic in nature anta keltare. See, we have metal oxide, that is the we have sodium oxide and potassium oxide. Sodium oxide is what? Na2O, and potassium oxide is K2O. Just heng siktu namge sodium oxide, when I burn the sodium in the presence of oxygen, I got sodium oxide, Na2O I got. Correct na? And when this Na2O what happened, reacts with water, it forms sodium hydroxide, that is NaOH it will form. Okay, so illi ನಾವು ಏನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 1 mark question ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. We are talking about here about the alkalis. About alkalis. See, most of the metal oxides are insoluble in water. Most of the metal oxides are insoluble in water, but these dissolve in the water to form alkalis. So ಏನು question ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ? What are alkalis ಅಂತ question ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. What are alkalis ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. What are alkalis? The metal oxides which are soluble in water, they are called as alkalis. You have to know about this, it's very important. Or you can simply write the bases which are soluble in water, not metal oxide. You can write bases. These bases are there. No, they are bases which are soluble in water. Bases soluble in water. The bases which are soluble in water, they are called as alkalis. What are alkalis? Bases that are soluble in water, they are called as alkalis. Clear, right? Okay. Okay, now listen here, children. Do not get interruption in between the class. Concentrate and learn. It's very important for your examination. So now that we understood so many things, what happens when metal is burned in the presence of oxygen, you must know this, children. See, all the metals do not react with the oxygen at the same rate. You have seen, right? Sodium showed different reaction. Magnesium, ನನಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಬಂದೆ, ಸೋಡಿಯಂ ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಮೆಗ್ನೀಷಿಯಂ ವೈಟ್ ಡಾರ್ಜಿಲಿಂಗ್ ಲೈಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಐರನ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಲೆಡ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಕಾಪರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಶೋ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಟುವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ದ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್. ಬಟ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್, ಇದು ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಸಚ್ ಆಸ್ ಪೊಟ್ಯಾಷಿಯಂ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೋಡಿಯಂ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಸೋ ವಿಗರಸ್ಲಿ ದಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ದ ಫೈರ್ when they kept open in the air. So they protect, we are protecting them by the accidental fires by keeping them immersed under the kerosene. Il keltare, why is sodium or potassium is kept under the kerosene? Why it is immersed under the kerosene anta keltare? Very important. Why is sodium or potassium is kept immersed in the kerosene anta keltare? It is because they both are highly reactive metals. Sodium and potassium, they both are highly reactive metals. When we keep it open in the air, they catches the fire. Idne baribeku ನೀವು exam ಅಲ್ಲಿ. They catches the fire. So to prevent the accidental fires, we are immersing it in the what? We are immersing it in the kerosene. Very important. Next, see, at ordinary temperature, the surfaces of metals such as magnesium, aluminum and zinc, they are covered with the thin layer of oxide. So the protective oxide layer prevent the metals from further oxidation. Clear? ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? Aluminum, zinc and also lead, when it is kept open in the air, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? They are covered with the thin layer of oxide. The aluminum covered with the aluminum oxide. Zinc is covered with the zinc oxide layer. So this layer which has been formed over it, it prevent the metals from the further oxidation. Metals further oxidate ಆಗೋದನ್ನ ಇದು prevent ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Clear ಆಯ್ತಾ? Next, see, the protective oxide layer prevents the metal from further oxidation. Then iron does not burn on heating, but iron fillings burn vigorously when sprinkled over the flame of burner. ನೋಡಿ, ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಬರ್ನರ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಈ ಬರ್ನರ್ ಮೇಲೆ ನೀವೇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ, ಸಿ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಡ್ ದ ಮೆಟಲ್ ನ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಏನಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೆಟಲ್ ಡಿಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಮೆಲ್ಟ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಹೈ ಮೆಲ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಹೈ ಬಾಯ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಈಗ ಐರನ್ ಏನಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಮೆಲ್ಟ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಪೀಸಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಐರನ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಐರನ್ ಫಿಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್. ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಪೀಸಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಐರನ್ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಐರನ್ ಫಿಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ಸ್. So these iron fillings, when we put on a burner, it will show some kind of light. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ? they react. So just like ನಿಮ್ಮ ದೀಪಾವಳಿ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಈ ಸುರ್ಸುರ್ ಬತ್ತಿನೆಲ್ಲ ಆಟ ಆಡ್ತೀರಲ್ಲ, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸೊ ಲೈಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Clear, right? Okay. So now next you have to see here, copper does not burn, but hot metals coated with a black colored layer, copper oxide. This one also I told. All these things ನಾನು already previous, ಈಗ just some time before explain ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ. just ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, with respect to examination point of view, you must know. And silver and gold does not react with oxygen at all. So now what are we doing now? See, now most of the metals are not reacting with the what? Oxygen. The metals which are not reacting with the oxygen, we are making them to react with the what? We are making them react with the water now. We are making them to react with the water. You can ignore this. ನಿನ್ನೆ ತಾನೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ, ರೇಡಿಯೋ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಆಕಾಶವಾಣಿ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿಂದ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ ಜೊತೆ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಸಂಜೆ ಒಂದು ಲೈವ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಡು ಯು ನೋ ಅನ್ನೋ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ನ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಗ್ನೋರ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ವೋಂಟ್ ಬಿ ಆಸ್ಕ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಡು ಯು ನೋ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್. Questions won't be asked from the do you know box that was been cleared with our state resource people. Okay, next. See, now let us take now what happens when metals burn with the water. See, what happens when metal react with the water? Very importantly, you have to know, children. See, I am covering every concept of your class 10 science. It's very important to know all the concepts, children. In very simple way, I will explain you what happens when metal react with water. Students, see, whenever metal react with water, whenever a metal is reacting with water, so what do it form? Whenever a metal reacting with water, it forms a metal oxide. It forms a metal oxide, and also it releases the hydrogen gas. It releases what? It releases the hydrogen gas. General equations ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. What happened when the metal react with water? It forms metal oxide and hydrogen gas. Okay. Now when we take this metal oxide, when I take this metal oxide and further react with water, what happens? It forms metal hydroxide. What does it form? It forms the metal hydroxide. So ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು. What happened when metal react with water? What happened when metal oxide react with water? Metal oxide ಈಗ ನಾವು just ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ. Sodium oxide ಅನ್ನ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ? We have added to water. So what did I get? I got sodium hydroxide. That is a metal hydroxide. Just sometime before I told you, right? Okay. So now you have to note it down. See, which are the metals which show reaction with the water, cold water. See, here we are taking the cold water, we are taking the hot water, and also we are taking the steam. We are taking cold water, we are taking the hot water, and also we are taking the steam. Very important, you have to focus. Okay. Some of the metals like sodium, potassium, and calcium, only these metals show reactivity with the cold water. Clear ಆಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Only when I put sodium, potassium, or calcium into cold water, they show the reactivity. What about the other metals? Other metals like magnesium, that is, the lead, copper, gold, silver, aluminum, iron, zinc, they do not show the reactivity with the cold water. So, ಯಾವ metal cold water ಜೊತೆ reactivity ನ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, I am making it to react with the hot water. Okay, what am I doing? I am making it to react with the hot water. So now what will I do here? I will take the hot water. Now let me take now another metal, magnesium. So I have tried to react all the metals with the hot water, but what happened? Only magnesium showed reaction with the hot water. Now The metals, other metals does not show reaction with the hot water. So next ನಾನು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀನಿ, I am taking those metals and reacting with the steam. I am making it to react with the steam. So the metals that show the reactivity with the steam are aluminium, iron and zinc. Aluminium, iron and zinc, these show the reactivity. What they show the reactivity with the steam. ಓಕೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ನನಗೆ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ಹೊರಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗಿವ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. They ask you as a give reason. So it's very important to concentrate and listen. Okay, not all the metals is showing reactivity with the cold water. Not all are reacting with the hot water. Not all are reacting with the steam. So there are certain exceptions. Activity 3.10 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ? What are they talking in the activity 3.10? See, in the activity 3.10 here, they're discussing about these things, whatever we are doing, right? See, reacting with the metals with the cold water, hot water as well as the steam. Okay, so as I told you, sodium, potassium, calcium, they react with the cold water. Okay, so the cold water jothe react agirodrinda don't need to react with the warm, especially sodium, it will burst. Okay, you should not react with the hot water. Okay, so whenever sodium and potassium react with the water along with the calcium, they produce heat, children. They produce heat also. So can you tell me what kind of reactions are these? What kind of reaction is this? If it is producing the heat, what can we call this reaction as? If the sodium, potassium and calcium, when it is reacting with the water, it is producing the heat. Okay, what kind of reactions are these? Exactly, Mithil has given the first right answer. It is exothermic reaction, followed by Anu, Leela, Manjunath, Sham. Okay, many are giving right answer. So yes, absolutely correct. See, these are producing the heat, which is nothing but they are exothermic reaction. Example for exothermic, because they are releasing the heat. Here they are releasing the heat. Now what happened? We reacted these metals with the, that means the metals which is not reacting with the cold water, we reacted with the magnesium. The magnesium only show the reaction with the hot water. Apart from that, aluminium, iron and zinc show the reactivity with the steam. ಅದನ್ನೇ ನಾವು ಈ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. See, this is important for 3 marks children. ನಿನ್ನೆ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಆಕಾಶವಾಣಿ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ನಾನ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂದಾಗ 2 ಡ್ರಾಯಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಟೀಮ್ ಆನ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಂಡಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್. ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಇದು, ತುಂಬಾ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. 3 marks you have to learn this diagram. Very important to learn this diagram for 3 marks. Very important. Okay now. So now see, these are the reactions which I told you just now. The metal reacts with water to form what? Metal hydrogen, metal oxide and hydrogen gas. Metal oxide when reacts with water, it forms metal hydroxide. Forms metal hydroxide. So all these things I have covered right now. Ella ಹೇಳಿದೀನಿ ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ. Potassium and sodium ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ cold water ಅಲ್ಲಿ. So no need to react with the hot water. Okay. So in the case of this, what happened? They are releasing the heat. They are called as highly exothermic reaction. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. When calcium react with the water, the heat evolved. Okay, the heat evolved, or you can say calcium does not release the hydrogen gas anta keltare. Whenever calcium react with the water, what happened? It does not release the how can I say this question? You can just a minute. Okay, the calcium start floating on the water. When the calcium react with the water, it start floating on the water. Give reason anta keltare. What do you give reason? See, when we take a beaker and add calcium to this and also water to this, what happens? It forms the calcium hydroxide. Along with this, what happened? Hydrogen gas is liberated. ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಲಿಬರೇಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಿರುವಂತ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? When calcium reacts with water, this gas is sticking to the surface of the calcium itself. ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಸಿಯಂ ನ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಗೆ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ನೋಡಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಆ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್, ತುಂಬಾ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಗಿವ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಇದನ್ನ, ಗಿವ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ತುಂಬಾ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್. ದಿ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಸಿಯಂ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಫ್ಲೋಟಿಂಗ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ bubbles of the hydrogen gas are formed, stick to the surface of the calcium metal. So okay, clear, right? So you have to know about this. ಇದನ್ನ ಗಿವ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳುವಂತ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಗಿವ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, magnesium does not react with cold water, but it reacts with what? It reacts with the hot water. Similarly, when magnesium reacts with the hot water, what happens? It forms magnesium hydroxide and hydrogen gas liberate ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? It also start floating due to the bubbles of hydrogen gas sticking to the surface. Hydrogen ಇಲ್ಲಿ magnesium ಕೂಡ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? Magnesium, when it is liberating the hydrogen gas, this is sticking to the surface of the magnesium metal. So calcium and magnesium case alli enagutte, whenever hydrogen is released, what happen, it is stick to the bubbles of hydrogen will stick to the surface of the metals itself. Okay, so nimge ee concept alli tumbane important idu. Next we are learning what happens when metals react with the acids. So now that we understood what happens when metals react with cold water, hot water, and in the case of steam, you can observe here, aluminum is reacting with water in the form of steam. Gas is nodi, gas and the steam which is a react ಆಗ್ತದೆ to form aluminum oxide and hydrogen gas. Similarly, iron react with the water to form iron oxide and also hydrogen gas is liberated. Okay, so now what are we doing here, children? Whichever the metals which are not reacting, whichever the metals which is not reacting with the hot water, cold water and the steam, we are reacting those metals with the acid. ಯಾವುದು ಜೊತೆನೂ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಹ ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, we are making them to react with the acids. We are making them to react with the acid. That is importantly you have to know. Clear ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ? Yes. See, every concept I'm clearing, so it's important to think and answer in the examination. What happens when a metal react with an acid? You already know about it. Whenever we take a metal, let us take zinc metal and add into acid. When you react a zinc metal with a hydrochloric acid, what happens? Zinc react with the chlorine to form zinc chloride, which is a salt. Along with this, hydrogen gas is liberated. So what basically you have to focus here is, whenever we take any metal and react with an acid, it definitely forms a salt and hydrogen gas. That is what important you have to focus here. You take any metal and react with an acid, it forms a salt and hydrogen gas. Okay, but here there is an exception case, children. Based on that exceptional case, they ask the questions in the examination. I'll tell you what is that. See, in the case of this, very important point, this is 100% very important. You must never ignore this. See, sometimes what happens, the hydrogen is not released with the few, whenever few metals react with an acid. Hydrogen gas is not evolved when a metal react with the nitric acid. Give reason. Do you know what is the reason why hydrogen gas is not released when a metal is reacting with nitric acid? What is the formula of nitric acid? The formula of nitric acid is HNO3. Okay, so when a metal is reacting with nitric acid, it is not releasing the hydrogen gas. What is the reason? They ask what is the reason. It's very important to know. See, whenever a metal is reacting with nitric acid, it is not releasing hydrogen gas because nitric acid is an oxidizing agent. It is a strong oxidizing agent. It's very important to write this word. Okay, so it is a strong oxidizing agent ಅಂತ ಬರೆದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ನಿಮಗೆ full marks ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. Clear ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? If they have given here, because nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent. If you write this, you get 1 mark for it. Okay, and what happens here? See, it oxidizes the hydrogen gas. The hydrogen gas which is released in this case is getting oxidized into water. Okay, and it is getting reduced to its some other forms like nitrogen oxides. For example, N2O, NO and NO2. We say nitrous oxide, nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide. All these are the formula for nitric oxide, nitrogen dioxide and nitrous oxide. It's very important, children. This question keltare illi nimge. Okay na? Yes, sir. So now you also have to know an exception case. See, I told you just now, metals does not react with nitric acid to release hydrogen gas. But there are few metals such as magnesium and manganese. You can remember M square. Okay, M square react with HNO3. M square react with HNO3 to release what? To release the hydrogen gas. What is this M square? M square is nothing but here my magnesium and my manganese. Magnesium and manganese. Clear? Okay. So this is an exception case. You must know, children. So in all this case, you are observing that which are the different metals which are showing the reactivity with the water, with the oxygen, with the acid as well. Based on this only, we are arranging the metals in the increasing order of their reactivity series. It's very important. Okay. So those who are joining to the live right now, welcome to you all, children. Okay. So now, first know here, see the rate of formation of bubbles was faster in case of magnesium, okay, compared to other metals. So the reaction was also most exothermic in this case. So the reactivity series will be seen like this. Magnesium is more reactive than aluminium. Aluminium is more reactive than zinc. Zinc is more reactive than iron. That is how you are going to arrange these metals. Okay. And you can ignore this. But ignore this anta helidare. But illi nimge naan helta idini. This point you have to remember. So aqua regia, there is a solution which is helping the gold to dissolve. This solution is hydrochloric acid and concentrated acid, nitric acid. When we take the hydrochloric acid and concentrated nitric acid in the ratio of 3:1, okay, you have to combine those things, do two things. So these two things will help the gold to dissolve easily. And also this should be a freshly prepared solution kuda. Freshly prepared solution agirbo. Next we have how do metals react with the other metals of salt solution. Salt solution jothe hege react agutte anta tilkoltidivi. So in this case we are talking about the displacement reaction. We are talking about displacement reaction in this case children. Tumbane important. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು displacement reaction ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. It's very important. Okay, you can observe this was there in the previous lesson also. Take copper sulfate solution and immerse the iron nail in it. What happened? Iron being more reactive displaces the copper from copper sulfate. So it forms the iron sulfate, that is FeSO4, and copper is getting displaced. So what are the questions they can ask in this section? So what is the color of copper sulfate ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ after reacting with iron? When iron copper sulfate is reacting with iron ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ferrous sulfate form ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. So it will be light green in color. It is light green in color. It's important. It is light green in color. It's light green in color. Okay. Yes. Next, what happens here? Iron being more reactive displaces the copper from copper oxide. Why are you doing this? ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ನೀವು? Okay. Why are you doing this? Because see, not some metals does not show reaction with water, as well as with the oxygen, as well as with the salt solution. So as well as with the acids. So those metals we are extracting by using the displacement reaction. Why? Because in displacement reaction it is importantly necessary for the metals which are highly reactive to displace the low reactive metals. Okay, section is very easy children, you have to know about this. Finally we have reactivity series here. So now that we have understood so many metals, that how are they arranged, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಅರೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ, we have seen that potassium and sodium show the highly reactivity when they compare when they are kept open in the oxygen. Correct na? When I talk about calcium, magnesium, aluminum, they show reaction easily with the cold water. In the case of in the case of calcium, it show reaction with the cold water. Correct na? In the case of what let us take magnesium, it showed reaction with the hot water. Then aluminum, zinc and iron, they show reaction with the steam. Okay, that is why they are kept in the this particular region. And next we have lead, copper, mercury, gold and silver. They do not show any kind of reactivity because they are least reactive. Especially gold and silver are least reactive. Here ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ? So these are in the decreasing order. These are in the decreasing order. Most reactive, middle reactive, least reactive. Clear? So now that children, I told you that tomorrow I am starting from, okay, let me now start with the question answers. Tomorrow I will start this from this section. This section naale nimge nan heltini. So how do metals and non-metals react with each other? So if you want, I'll complete this section because it's very important. ಇಲ್ಲಿ structures ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Sodium chloride ಮತ್ತೆ magnesium chloride formation structure ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಈ ಒಂದು segment ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಇದು ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, otherwise tomorrow we can focus on this. Tomorrow we can focus on this. It's very important. Okay. Let me now go for the question part. Question part ಗೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ. So tomorrow, because 2 sessions are there, tomorrow I'm going to complete this another half. Okay. Yes. Let me now drop down few question answers so that you guys have to answer for it. Take some of the question answers. Need to answer for these today's class. So tell me, children, the questions here are, okay, just a minute. So my first question, remember what is my first question? You have to answer right now. Everybody have to answer here. Okay. Name the metal which is the best conductor of heat, children. Which is the best conductor of heat? Name the metal which is best conductor of heat. Tell me. So it's some are telling silver and copper, some are telling copper. Okay, both silver and copper both are important, children. Silver and copper both, they are considered to be the best conductor of heat. Silver and copper. Which is having the low melting point? I told you which is having low melting point. Metal which is having low melting point. Okay, metals which is having low melting point. So SM crazy idea has given the right answer. It is gallium. Okay, gallium and cesium. Gallium and cesium, they have low melting point. Discuss ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ, right? Okay. Next, name the metal which does not react with the oxygen even at the high temperature. Which metal does not react with the oxygen even at the high temperature? High temperature allೂ ಕೂಡ ಯಾವ ಮೆಟಲ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಜೊತೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. Name the metal which does not react with the oxygen even at the high temperature. Okay, so most of you are telling gold, gold, gold. Okay, yes, your answer is right, correct. So when we talk about this here, see, both gold and silver, they do not react with gold and silver. They do not react with the oxygen even at the high temperature. The most ductile metal, which is the most ductile metal? Which is the most ductile metal? I think you know about this. Most of you are giving right answer. Which is the most ductile metal, am I asking? So the most ductile metal is the gold. Gold is the most ductile metal. Gold is the most ductile metal. Clear? Next, water amphoteric oxides. Just now I have taught you. Water amphoteric oxide, you write. Metal oxides, you write like this in examination. Metal oxides, okay, metal oxides which react, metal oxides which react with both acids and bases. Both acids and bases is called as the amphoteric oxide. And they react with both acids and bases to form what? They form salt and water. They form salt and water. Salt and water will be formed. So now choose the amphoteric oxide anta kelta idare. Istರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು amphoteric oxide? Tell me students, which is amphoteric oxide among these? Which is the amphoteric oxide among these? ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು amphoteric oxide ಆಗಿದೆ? Which is the amphoteric oxide I'm asking? So if you are telling zinc oxide and aluminum oxide, yes, very good. Here they have given zinc oxide and aluminum oxide. So zinc oxide and aluminum oxide, these are the two examples for amphoteric oxide. Clear? So next we have question. Compare the tabular column for the reactivities of the following metals with the cold and hot water ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದನ್ನ 2020 ನಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೋಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಅಂತ ನೋಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಓಕೆ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಅ ಮಿನಿಟ್. Just write down. Okay. So compare the tabular form for the reactivities of the following metals, the cold water and also the hot water ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ cold water ಜೊತೆ ಹೇಗೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, hot water ಜೊತೆ ಹೇಗೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಬರಿಬೇಕು. So what do you write for this case? ಈ ಕೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೀತೀರಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ you write just take the sodium ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ. Sodium ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, how does it react with the water, cold water? Okay, how does it react with the cold water? So you have to write when sodium reacts with the cold water, what happens? It forms a sodium hydroxide and also hydrogen gas is released. So write sodium react so vigorously. Sodium reacts so vigorously with cold water. You should write this, very important. With cold water. Okay. Nextly, what do you write? How does calcium react? Okay. Calcium, when it combines with water, what forms? It forms calcium hydroxide and hydrogen gas is released, but it is less violent. Okay, it is less violent. You have to know about this. Compared to sodium, it is less violent, and it also reacts with the cold water. Next, we have magnesium. Magnesium did not react with cold water, so we made it to react with hot water. So magnesium combined with water form. What does it form? It forms magnesium hydroxide form I2 and hydrogen gas release. Okay, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಮೆಗ್ನೀಷಿಯಂ ಹೇಗೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಬರಿಬೇಕು, ಅಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಹಾಟ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಂತ ಬರಿಬೇಕು. ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, give reasons for the following. Hydrogen gas is not evolved when most of the metals react with the nitric acid. ಒಂದೇ ವರ್ಡ್ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದೀನಿ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಡೈಸಿಂಗ್ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಬರಿಬೇಕು. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಆಕ್ಸಿಡೈಸಿಂಗ್ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಬರೀರಿ. ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇದೆ. zinc oxide is considered as amphoteric oxide. Why? Because zinc oxide. Why? Tell me, can you tell me children why zinc oxide is called as amphoteric oxide? Why zinc oxide is called as amphoteric oxide? You have to tell me. Okay. because zinc oxide react with both acids as well as bases. It reacts with both acids and bases to form what? It reacts with both acids and bases to form salt and water. It forms salt and water. Clear? Then metals conduct electricity. Why do metals conduct electricity? Because they're the good conductors of electricity. Metals are good conductors of electricity. That is why they conduct the electricity. You have to know about this. Simple questions ಇದೆ, but it is very important to know. To not skip this. You should not skip this. It's very important with respect to examination point of view. ಯಾವುದೇ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಸಿಟಿ ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಇದು ಗುಡ್ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಸಿಟಿ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಫ್ರೀ ಆಗಿ ಫ್ಲೋ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ಲಿ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್. ಅಯಾನ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಫ್ರೀಲಿ ಫ್ಲೋ ಅಂತ ಬರಿಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ವಾಟ್ ಡು ಯು ರೈಟ್? ಯು ರೈಟ್ ಹಿಯರ್, ಯು ರೈಟ್ what do you write here? You write here, for third question I'm talking about, you write here, ions will freely flow. Ions freely flow in the case of the metals. That is why they conduct electricity. Clear? Next question, see, why do calcium start floating when it reaches the water? I told now, just now. Calcium ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? It start floating when it is reacting with the water. ಯಾಕೆ? Calcium react with the cold water to form calcium hydroxide. ಹೌದಲ್ವಾ? ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಏನ್ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ, ಇದು ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಟು ದ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಸಿಯಂ. ಅದನ್ನ ಬರೀತೀರಾ. ಇದನ್ನ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಬರೆದು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಇನ್ ದ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ನೇಮ್ ಟು ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಡು ನಾಟ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ವಿತ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಟ್ ಆಲ್. ಯಾವ್ದು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ? ಗೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಿಲ್ವರ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಜೊತೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೂ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ? ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ನೋಡಿ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ ಇಫ್ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಪೀಸಸ್ ಆರ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಬ್ಲೂ ಕಾಪರ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್. ಜಿಂಕ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಕಾಪರ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡಿ, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? Can anybody tell me what happens? Can anybody tell me what happens when you keep the zinc in the water? No, I'm sorry, in the copper sulfate. What happens when you keep the zinc pieces in the copper sulfate? Heli. Zinc pieces in the copper sulfate alli place madre enagutte? What will happen when you place the zinc in the copper sulfate? What will happen? I think you guys are trying to answer. Displacement reaction ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಬ್ಸಲ್ಯೂಟ್ಲಿ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ. ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಜಿಂಕ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದೆನ್ ಕಾಪರ್ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಬರಿಬೇಕು. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದೆನ್ ಕಾಪರ್ ಅಂತ ಬರಿಬೇಕು. ಜಿಂಕು ಕಾಪರ್ನ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕಾಪರ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಸಮ್ ಕಾಪರ್ ಪೀಸಸ್ ಆರ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಕಲರ್ ಫೆರಸ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್. ಕಾಪರ್ ಪೀಸ್ ನ ಫೆರಸ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟರೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಾ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಐರನ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದೆನ್ ಕಾಪರ್. So copper iron ಅನ್ನ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. So no reaction takes place here. No reaction. More reactive element to less reactive element ನ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ less reactive element to more reactive element ನ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. An iron nail is dipped in a solution of copper sulfate for some time. Iron Fe ನ CuSO4 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಕಾಪರ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್. ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ತೋರಿಸುತ್ತಾ? ಹೌದು. ಐರನ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್. ಇಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಫೆರಸ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ದ ಕಾಪರ್ ಇಸ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್. ಇದು ಗೊತ್ತಿರ್ಬೇಕು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಅನ್ಕೋತೀನಿ. ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಇಫ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಈಸಿ ಟು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಯು ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ ಇಸ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಪ್ಯಾಕಿಂಗ್ ದ ಫುಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್. ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ ತುಂಬಾ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ ಅಂತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಇದನ್ನ ಫುಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ವೈ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫುಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್? ಒಂದು, ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ ಇಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್, ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ ಇಸ್ ಚೀಪ್. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಅಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಗುಡ್ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಹೀಟ್. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ? ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೈಲಿ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್. ಐ ನೋ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೈಲಿ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್, ಬಟ್ when it is exposed to moisture, what happens? The surface is covered with a thin impervious layer of aluminum oxide. ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು. It covers with the impervious layer, ಅಂದ್ರೆ aluminum oxide layer form ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. So this layer does not allow the most of the air to come in contact with the fresh metal. ಅದರಿಂದ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? This protects the metal underneath the underneath to from the further change ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಅದು ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜ್ ಆಗದೆ ಇರೋ ರೀತಿ ತಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ತುಂಬಾ ಸಿಂಪಲ್. ಒಂದು ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಚೀಪ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಗುಡ್ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಹೀಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ? ಲೇಯರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಅದು ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಆಗಿದೆಯಾ? ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಚೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ. ವಿ ಆರ್ ಚೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ ಫಾರ್ ಇಟ್. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್? ಸೊ ಅನದರ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್, when an element x, ಇದನ್ನ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಿ. when an element x, ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್. ರಿಮೈನಿಂಗ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಟಾಕ್ ಇನ್ ಟುಮಾರೋಸ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್. ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟೀಸ್ ಏನೇ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು ನೀವು ಬರೀತೀರಾ ಅನ್ಕೋತೀನಿ. ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಮೇಕ್ ಸಮ್ ಗಿವ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಯು. Then element X displaces the iron from aqueous solution of iron sulfate. X ಅನ್ನೋ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಇದೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, aqueous solution of iron sulfate ಇದೆ, iron sulfate solution ಇದೆ. Okay, X displaces the iron from iron aqueous solution of iron sulfate. ಅಂದ್ರೆ X ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಐರನ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತ ಐರನ್ ನ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ದ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವೇಷನ್ ಇಫ್ ದ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಟ್ರೀಟೆಡ್ ವಿತ್ aqueous solution of copper sulfate. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ನ ಕಾಪರ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ, when X is treated with the aqueous solution of copper sulfate, zinc sulfate is formed. X ನ ಕಾಪರ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ ನ ಕಾಪರ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್, if X is treated with an aqueous solution of copper sulfate, zinc sulfate and also silver nitrate. Okay, so what happened, it shows some kind of reaction. You want to find out what is this X ಏನು ಅಂತ find out ಮಾಡಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ನೀವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಐರನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಐರನ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಇಂದ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಈ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದನ್ ಐರನ್. ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಐರನ್ ಗಿಂತ ತುಂಬಾ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ಐರನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಐರನ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್. ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಈ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು, ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಏನ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೀನಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು, ಆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ನ ಕಾಪರ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸಿಲ್ವರ್ ನೈಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಿಲ್ವರ್ ನೈಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೀನಿ. ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಆಸ್ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದನ್ ಐರನ್, ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಮೋರ್ ಆರ್ ಲೆಸ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದನ್ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದೆನ್ ದ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಸೀರೀಸ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಬರೀಬೇಕು. ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಸೀರೀಸ್? ಇದು ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾಪರ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಈ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಕಿ ಆಗಿದೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ. ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ಐರನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ aqueous solution ಆಫ್ ಐರನ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್. ಸೊ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ನೀವು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವೇಷನ್ಸ್ ನ ಬರೀಬೇಕು. ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ದ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಇಫ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಟ್ರೀಟೆಡ್ ವಿತ್ ದ aqueous solution ಆಫ್, ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಕಾಪರ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ZnO4, ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಸಿಲ್ವರ್ ನೈಟ್ರೇಟ್ AgNO3 ಜೊತೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವೇಷನ್ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆದಾಗ ಏನ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಜಿಂಕ್ ಕಾಪರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸಿಲ್ವರ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವೇಷನ್ ಅರೇಂಜ್ ದಿಸ್, ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಜಿಂಕ್ ನ ಕಾಪರ್ ನ ಸಿಲ್ವರ್ ನ ಅರೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಹೇಗೆ ಅರೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ನೋಡಿ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬಂದು ಕಾಪರ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಕಾಪರ್ ಐರನ್ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಕಾಪರ್ ಐರನ್ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ರಿಪೀಟೆಡ್ಲಿ ರೈಟ್, ಈ ಕಾಪರ್ ಐರನ್ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ನಮ್ಗಿರುವಂತದ್ದು ಸಿಲ್ವರ್. ಸೊ ಕಾಪರ್ ಐರನ್ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಸಿಲ್ವರ್ ಇದನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಜಿಂಕ್ ಇಸ್ ಲೆಸ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್. ಸಾರಿ, ದಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ದ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿ. ಕಾಪರ್ ಐರನ್ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದು ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್, ಯಾವ್ದು ಲೆಸ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಂತ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿ. ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಲೆಸ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ನೋಡಿ, ಫೆರಸ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಜೊತೆ ಇದು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಐರನ್ ಗಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್, ಓಕೆ, ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಟು ಜಿಂಕ್. ಜಿಂಕ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದೆನ್ ಐರನ್, ಐರನ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದೆನ್ ಕಾಪರ್. ಇದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಬರೀತೀರಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಕಿ ಆಗಿದೆ ಕ್ವಶನ್, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೀವು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಬರಿಬೇಕಾಗಿರುವಂತ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇದಾಗಿದೆ. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ? ಸೊ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಎಂಡ್ ದ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ರೈಟ್ ನೌ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್. In tomorrow's class, I will be teaching you the other half of the metals and non-metals. And tomorrow I'll be coming up with lot of questions. There will be lot of questions in tomorrow's, the class. So don't forget to, watch the tomorrow's class also. ಎರಡನ್ನೂ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ metals and non-metals ಇಂದ ಕೇಳುವಂತ ಯಾವುದೇ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಗಾದ್ರೂ ನೀವು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Do watch that video as well. Okay? Last question ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ವಾ? Shall I repeat once again? ಓಕೆ, ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ನೋಡಿ. ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಎನ್ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಇದೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ಐರನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಐರನ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್. ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಈ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಐರನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಐರನ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಇಂದ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇದು XSS4 ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂಡ್ ಐರನ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದೇ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಕಾಪರ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆದಾಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಕಾಪರ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಐರನ್ ಅನ್ನೇ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕಾಪರ್ ನ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡೇ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಐರನ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದೆನ್ ಕಾಪರ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಇದು XSO4 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕಾಪರ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಈಗ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಸಲ್ಫೇಟ್ ಜೊತೆನೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಜಿಂಕ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದೆನ್ ಐರನ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, ಸೊ ನಾವು ಅಗೇನ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ನೋ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ಜಿಂಕ್ ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಏನಂತ ನಾವು ಏನ್ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಐರನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಕಾಪರ್ ನು ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಜಿಂಕ್ ನು ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್. ಎಕ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ. ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ನೀವು ಇದನ್ನ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಬರ್ದಾಗ ಕಾಪರ್ ಇಸ್ ಲೆಸ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಟು ಐರನ್, ಐರನ್ ಇಸ್ ಲೆಸ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಟು ಜಿಂಕ್, ಜಿಂಕ್ ಇಸ್ ಲೆಸ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಟು ಎಕ್ಸ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಟು ಜಿಂಕ್, ಜಿಂಕ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಟು ಐರನ್, ಐರನ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದೆನ್ ಕಾಪರ್ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಅನ್ಕೋತೀನಿ. ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಎಂಡ್ ದ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ರೈಟ್ ನೌ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್ ಫಾರ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಲೈವ್ ಟಿಲ್ ನೌ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ಯಾರು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಲ್ಲ, ಯು ಜಸ್ಟ್ make some time for yourself and go through the concepts I have taught you in today's class. So I will end the live today. So today evening I don't have any Zen paper. I think yesterday I have discussed the Zen paper. So ಇವತ್ತು ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಪೀರಿಯಾಡಿಕ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಇಂದ ಇದೊಂದಷ್ಟು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ ಪೆಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ. ನಿನ್ನೆ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದ್ದಂತ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಪೀರಿಯಾಡಿಕ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಪೆಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಇಫ್ ಯು ಫೌಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್, ಡೋಂಟ್ ಫರ್ಗೆಟ್ ಟು ಲೈಕ್ ದ ವಿಡಿಯೋನ ಲೈಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಡೂ ಶೇರ್ ದ ವಿಡಿಯೋ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್ ಫಾರ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಲೈವ್ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್. ಅಂಡ್ ನಿನ್ನೆದು PDF ಡೇ 4 ಅಂಡ್ ಡೇ 5 PDF ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ನಾಟ್ ಡೇ 4 ಅಂಡ್ ಡೇ 5, ಡೇ 5 PDF ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಶೇರ್ ಇಟ್. ಪೀರಿಯಾಡಿಕ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ನಾನು PDF ನ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಟೆಲಿಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್. ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ನೈಸ್ ಡೇ.